Captain Jake Morrison floated through the main corridor of Liberty Prime, his magnetic boots clicking against the metal floor. The Deep Space Monitoring Station had been his home for 3 years now, sitting at the very edge of the solar system, like a lonely lighthouse in the dark. He liked the quiet out here. Most days nothing happened except the usual background noise of space. Today was different. "Captain, you need to see this right now," called Lisa Carter from the tactical station. Her voice carried an edge that made Jake push off the wall and glide quickly toward the main control room. Lisa never got excited about anything. If she was worried, then something was really wrong. Jake grabbed the handrail and pulled himself down to her station. The main display showed a sea of red dots moving across the star map. There were so many dots that they looked like a cloud of angry bees heading straight for them. "What am I looking at?" Jake asked, though he already felt his stomach drop. "Long-range sensors picked this up 20 minutes ago," Lisa said, her fingers dancing across the controls. "It's a fleet, a big one, coming from the direction of Vega." "Ryan." Brooks looked up from his communication station, his young face pale. "Captain, I count over 10,000 ships, maybe more. They're moving fast, faster than anything we've ever seen." Jake stared at the display. In all his years in space, he had never seen anything like this. The ships were arranged in perfect attack formation, spread across millions of kilometers but moving together like they were connected by invisible strings. "How long until they reach Earth?" Jake asked. Amanda Price, the station's chief engineer, was already running calculations on her computer. At their current speed, maybe 70 hours, give or take a few. 70 hours, less than 3 days. Jake felt the weight of command settle on his shoulders like a heavy blanket. Liberty Prime was just a monitoring station. They had no weapons, no shields, nothing that could stop even one of those ships, let alone 10,000. "Ryan, send an emergency signal to Earth Defense Command immediately," Jake ordered. "Full priority. Tell them we have a massive alien fleet heading directly for Earth. Include all sensor data." "Yes, sir," Ryan said, his hands shaking slightly as he worked. "But Captain, it will take 4 hours for the signal to reach Earth, and another 4 for any reply to get back to us. 8 hours for a conversation." In space, everything took time. Too much time. Jake watched the red dots on the screen continue their slow march toward the inner solar system. Each dot represented a ship larger than anything humanity had ever built. The biggest human warship was maybe 200 meters long. These alien vessels were clearly much bigger. Some of the largest ones showed up on sensors as being over a kilometer across. "Lisa, can you tell what kind of weapons they're carrying?" Jake asked. Lisa worked at her station trying to get better readings. "I'm picking up massive energy signatures from the larger ships. Whatever they've got, it's designed to destroy planets, not just fight other ships. Planet killers." Jake had read about such weapons in science fiction books, but seeing real ones, heading for Earth, made his blood turn cold. "Amanda, is there any way we can speed up our communication with Earth?" Jake asked. The engineer shook her head. "We're already using the most powerful transmitter we have. The laws of physics don't care about emergencies, Captain. Light can only travel so fast." Jake nodded and tried to think. Earth had maybe 50 warships total, spread across the solar system. Most of them were patrol boats designed to chase smugglers and pirates. Humanity had never faced a real alien threat before. They weren't ready for war. "Captain," Ryan called out, his voice strange, "I'm picking up some weird signals." "What kind of signals?" "I'm not sure. They're coming from all over the solar system. Low frequency, very faint. Almost like something is waking up." Jake frowned. "Waking up? What do you mean?" Ryan adjusted his headphones and listened carefully. "Sir, I've been monitoring space communications for 5 years. I know every signal that comes through this area. These are new, and they're getting stronger." Lisa looked at her tactical display and gasped. "Captain, I'm seeing energy spikes near Mars, and Jupiter, and everywhere. It's like the whole solar system is lighting up." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. First an alien armada, now mysterious signals appearing everywhere. This was definitely not a normal day. "Keep monitoring everything," he ordered. Record all the data. If we don't survive this, maybe someone else can figure out what's happening. For the next hour, they watched the alien fleet continue its approach. While strange signals grew stronger throughout the solar system, the signals seemed to be coming from asteroids, moons, even empty space where nothing should exist. "Captain," Amanda said suddenly, "I'm reading massive energy buildups on several moons. It's like someone is powering up huge machines that have been sleeping for a very long time." "That's impossible," Jake said. "We've mapped every major object in the solar system. There's nothing out there except rocks and ice." "Tell that to my sensors," Amanda replied. "Something big is happening on Europa, Titan, and at least 6 asteroids in the belt. Power levels are off the charts." Jake looked at the main display again. The alien fleet continued its steady advance, but now there were new contacts appearing on the screen. Faint at first, but growing stronger. Things that hadn't been there an hour ago were suddenly visible to their sensors. "Ryan, any word from Earth yet?" Jake asked. "Still waiting, sir. But Captain, these new signals I'm picking up, some of them sound almost human, like they're trying to communicate with us." "Put it on speaker." A low humming filled the control room, punctuated by what sounded like electronic voices speaking, in a language no one recognized, but somehow Jake felt like he should understand it. The sound seemed familiar, like a half-remembered dream. "This is crazy," Lisa whispered. "It's like the whole solar system is coming alive just as these aliens show up. That can't be a coincidence." Jake had to agree. In his experience, there were no coincidences in space. Everything happened for a reason, even if that reason wasn't obvious right away. He looked at his crew, these 3 people who had become like family during their time together on Liberty Prime. They were scared, but they were professionals. They would do their jobs no matter what happened. "Whatever's going on out there," Jake said, "we're going to document every second of it. Someone needs to know what happened here. Keep recording everything, and pray that Earth is ready for what's coming." The alien armada continued its approach, now less than 70 hours from Earth. But throughout the solar system, ancient things were stirring. The real question was whether they would wake up in time. Admiral Kate Sullivan was drinking her morning coffee when the emergency alert started screaming through Pacific Defense Headquarters. She had been expecting a quiet Tuesday morning, maybe reviewing some routine patrol reports. Instead, she found herself staring at the most terrifying message in human history. Massive alien fleet detected. Over 10,000 ships. 70 hours to Earth intercept. Hostile intent confirmed. Kate set down her coffee cup with steady hands, though her heart was racing. She had trained for this moment her entire career, but she had never really believed it would happen. Humanity was alone in the universe, or so they had always assumed. "Get me General Adams and the President on secure line immediately," she ordered her aide, "and wake up Dr. Ben Rodriguez. We need our best xenoarchaeologist here in 1 hour." The next few hours passed in a blur of emergency meetings and desperate planning. Earth's entire space fleet consisted of 53 ships, mostly patrol vessels and cargo haulers with light weapons. The alien armada could probably destroy them all in the first 5 minutes of battle. "We have to try something," General Adams said during the emergency session. "We can't just sit here and wait to die." "What do you suggest?" Kate asked. "Our biggest ship has 12 missile tubes. These aliens have vessels the size of cities. This isn't a fight we can win with conventional weapons." Dr. Ben Rodriguez arrived at headquarters looking like he had been pulled out of bed, which he had. The elderly scientist was humanity's leading expert on ancient civilizations and alien archaeology. Not that they had found any real aliens before today. "Admiral Sullivan, you said there were strange signals coming from throughout the solar system?" Ben asked, adjusting his thick glasses. "That's right. Our deep space monitors are picking up energy signatures from locations where nothing should exist. It started right after the alien fleet was detected." Ben frowned and pulled out his tablet, scrolling through data that had been sent from Liberty, Prime, and other monitoring stations. His eyes grew wider as he read. "This is incredible," he whispered. "These energy patterns. I've seen something like this before." "Where?" Kate asked. 3 years ago, we found some strange metal fragments buried under the ice in Antarctica. They were incredibly old, maybe millions of years, But when we tried to study them, they gave off energy readings similar to what you're showing me now. Kate felt a spark of hope. Are you saying there might be ancient technology hidden on Earth? Not just on Earth, Ben said, pointing at the data. Look at these readings. Energy spikes near Mars, Jupiter's moons, dozens of asteroids. If I didn't know better, I'd say someone built a network of installations throughout our solar system a very long time ago. But we would have found them by now, General Adams protested. We've been exploring space for over 400 years. Ben shook his head. Not if they were designed to stay hidden, and not if they were only supposed to activate when… He paused, looking at the data again. When a threat approached the system. Meanwhile, 3 billion kilometers away on Europa, maintenance worker Gary Thompson was having the worst day of his life. He had been checking the heating systems under the research station when the whole moon started shaking. At first he thought it was an earthquake, but Europa didn't have earthquakes. Then the ice started cracking. Gary ran toward the emergency exit as massive chunks of ice fell from the ceiling. Behind him, he could hear something huge moving under the frozen surface. Something that had been sleeping for a very long time. He made it to the surface just as a section of ice the size of a football field split open like an egg. What emerged from beneath made Gary forget how to breathe. It was a structure of some kind made from metal that gleamed like liquid silver. It stretched for kilometers in every direction, covered in patterns that hurt to look at. As Gary watched, lights began flowing along the patterns like electricity through circuits. The whole thing hummed with power that he could feel in his bones. Control, this is Thompson at Europa Station 7, he said into his radio, his voice shaking. You're not going to believe this, but I think we just found something very big under the ice. Similar discoveries were happening throughout the solar system. On Mars, mining crews watched in amazement as ancient towers rose from beneath the red sand. Near Saturn, asteroid miners reported that their rocks were suddenly showing massive, metal structures hidden inside. On Earth's moon, seismic monitors detected something enormous moving under the lunar surface. Back at Pacific Defense Headquarters, Dr. Rodriguez was working frantically to understand what was happening. The energy signatures were getting stronger by the hour, and now they were starting to form patterns. Admiral, I think these installations are trying to communicate with us, he said, looking up from his computer. The signals are getting more organized, almost like they're scanning for something. Scanning for what? Kate asked. I'm not sure, but… Ben paused as new data came through. Admiral, we just got reports from medical facilities around the world. Every DNA analysis machine on the planet just activated on its own. They're all running the same scan. Kate felt a chill. Scanning what? Human genetic samples. Every blood bank, every hospital, every research facility. It's like something is checking to see if we're really human. The implications hit Kate like a physical blow. You're saying these installations are testing our DNA? It looks that way. And Admiral, they seem to be finding what they're looking for. As if to confirm Ben's words, reports started flooding in from around the world. The ancient installations were powering up faster now, and they were responding to human presence. When people got close to the sites, the structures became more active. When they moved away, the activity decreased. Dr. Rodriguez, Kate said slowly, are you telling me that these installations recognize humans? That's exactly what I'm telling you. And there's something else. I've been analyzing the metal fragments we found in Antarctica. The atomic structure is unlike anything on Earth, but there are trace elements that match isotopes found in human DNA. Kate stared at him. That's impossible. A week ago, I would have agreed with you. But Admiral, what if humans didn't evolve naturally on Earth? What if we were brought here by whoever built these installations? Before Kate could respond, an urgent message came through from Luna Base, humanity's main settlement on the moon. The base commander's voice was filled with wonder and fear. Earth Control, this is Luna Base. We have a situation here. A massive structure just emerged from under Crater 7. It's the size of a city and it's beautiful. But that's not the strangest part. There are symbols on it. Human symbols. English, Chinese, Arabic, Spanish. Every human language we've ever Developed is carved into this thing. Kate looked at Ben, who was staring at his data with wide eyes. Admiral, he said quietly, I don't think these aliens are coming to invade us. I think they're coming back. And I think these installations have been waiting for them. Waiting to do what? Ben looked at the tactical display showing the approaching alien fleet, then at the energy readings from the awakening installations throughout the solar system. Waiting to protect us, he said. I think we're about to find out that we're not as alone as we thought. And we never have been. The alien armada continued its approach, now less than 50 hours from Earth. But throughout the solar system, humanity's true heritage was finally revealing itself. The real question was whether they were ready to accept what they were about to learn about themselves. The alien armada had crossed Neptune's orbit when everything changed. Dr. Ben Rodriguez sat in the emergency command center, surrounded by screens showing data from across the solar system. What he was seeing should have been impossible, but the evidence was right there in front of him. Ancient structures were rising from beneath the surfaces of dozens of worlds, all of them responding to human DNA patterns. Admiral Sullivan, Ben called out, his voice filled with excitement and terror. I've figured out what these installations are, and you're not going to believe it. Kate hurried over to his station, where holographic displays showed the awakening structures throughout the solar system. Each one was massive, built from materials that human science couldn't identify, and covered in symbols that seemed to shift and change as you looked at them. Tell me, Kate said. They're defensive weapons, Ben explained, pointing at the tactical analysis. Each installation is designed to protect this solar system from invasion, but they're not human technology. They're much older than our entire civilization. How much older? Based on the isotope dating from the metal fragments, at least 10 million years, maybe more. Kate felt her world shift. 10 million years? But humans have only existed for a few 100,000 years at most. Ben nodded, then brought up a new display showing genetic analysis data. That's what I thought too. But Admiral, these installations aren't just recognizing human DNA. They're accepting it as a command authorization. As if humans were always meant to control them. On the screens around them, reports continued to flood in from across the solar system. The installations were fully active now, and they were spectacular. Each one was the size of a small city, bristling with weapons that defied human understanding of physics. Captain Jake Morrison's voice crackled through the communications system from Liberty Prime. Earth Control, we're getting new readings on the alien fleet. The installations seem to be scanning them, and they don't like what they're finding. What do you mean? Kate asked. The energy signatures from our defensive grid are spiking. It's like they recognize these aliens as enemies. Dr. Rodriguez pulled up his research files, his hands shaking with excitement. Admiral, I think I know what's happening. These aliens, whoever they are, they've been here before, a long time ago. You mean they've attacked Earth before? Not just Earth. I think they've been attacking worlds across the galaxy for millions of years. And I think the beings who built these defenses knew they would come back eventually. Far below Earth's oceans, Chief Petty Officer Carlos Martinez was discovering just how right Dr. Rodriguez was. Carlos had been working on an underwater mining platform when the ocean floor started glowing. Now he found himself standing inside a massive chamber that had risen from the depths, filled with weapons that looked like they belonged in a dream. This is incredible, Carlos whispered into his communication device. The whole thing is responding to my presence. When I touch the control panels, they light up and show me targeting displays. It's like it was built for humans to operate. The chamber stretched for kilometers in every direction, filled with massive cannons that pointed toward space. Carlos didn't understand how the weapons worked, but somehow he knew exactly how to use them. The knowledge seemed to flow into his mind as soon as he touched the controls. Control, I'm reading energy buildups in weapon systems I can't even pronounce. This thing is getting ready to fire at something. Similar reports were coming in from installations around the world. On Mars, mining crews found themselves in control of orbital defense platforms. On Europa, Gary Thompson discovered that the structure he had found was actually a massive factory, building ships that moved faster than light itself. But it was Ryan Brooks, aboard Liberty Prime, who made the most important discovery of all. Captain Morrison, Ryan said, his voice filled with wonder. I'm receiving a transmission, but it's not from the aliens. It's from the defense network itself. What kind of transmission? It's in English, sir. Perfect English, and it's addressing me by name. Jake floated over to Ryan's station, where text was appearing on the screen in letters that seemed to glow with their own light. Ryan Brooks, Communications Specialist, Liberty Prime. You have been recognized as a descendant of the architects. Welcome home. Jake stared at the message. Architects? Who are the architects? More text appeared. The architects were your ancestors. They built this defense network to protect their children from the harvesters. You are those children. The harvesters? Ryan asked. The alien fleet approaching your world. They consume entire civilizations. They destroyed the original architect civilization 10 million years ago, but not before we could prepare for their return. Back on Earth, Dr. Rodriguez was frantically analyzing this new information. Admiral, do you understand what this means? Humans aren't originally from Earth. We're the descendants of an ancient race that was destroyed by these same aliens millions of years ago. Kate felt like her brain was trying to process too much information at once. So the architects moved humans to Earth to protect them? Not just humans. The Defense Network is reporting similar installations around hundreds of other worlds. The architects scattered their descendants across the galaxy and left defense systems to protect them. The implications were staggering. Humanity wasn't alone in the universe. They were part of a vast network of civilizations, all descended from the same ancient race, all protected by the same defensive technology. Admiral, came a new voice from the communication system. It was Gary Thompson on Europa. The factory here just finished building something. It's a ship, but it's like nothing I've ever seen. And it's asking if I want to take command of it. Same here, reported Carlos Martinez from his underwater installation. I've got weapon systems that could level mountains, and they're all asking for my authorization to fire. Kate looked at the tactical display showing the approaching alien fleet. They were massive and powerful, but humanity now had weapons that were even more massive and far more powerful. Weapons that had been waiting for this moment for 10 million years. Dr. Rodriguez, Kate said slowly, are you telling me that we're about to fight a war that started before humans even existed? Ben nodded, his face pale but determined. That's exactly what I'm telling you. The architects knew the harvesters would eventually find Earth. They've been preparing for this battle for millions of years. Jake Morrison's voice came through the communication system again. Earth control, the alien fleet is slowing down. I think they've detected our defense network. Are they trying to communicate? Kate asked. No, Admiral, they're charging their weapons, all of them. Kate looked around the command center at her staff, then at the displays showing the awakening installations throughout the solar system. Humanity had gone from helpless victims to the inheritors of the most advanced military technology in the galaxy in just a few hours. All installations, this is Admiral Sullivan, Earth Defense Command. You have my authorization to defend this system by any means necessary. The response was immediate. Throughout the solar system, weapons that had slept for 10 million years began to power up. The architects had built well, and their children were finally ready to inherit their legacy. The real war was about to begin. The Harvester Armada passed Jupiter with confidence that had been earned through the conquest of 1,000 worlds. Fleet Commander Zektar observed the primitive system through sensors that could detect the thoughts of lesser beings. These humans would fall as easily as all the others had. The bioships of the Harvester fleet were things of terrible beauty, each one grown rather than built. The smallest vessels were the size of Earth's largest cities, while the command ships stretched across dozens of kilometers. They had been bred for one purpose: to strip entire worlds of all life and convert it into food for the swarm. Begin. Planetary bombardment preparations, Zektar commanded through the neural link that connected all Harvester minds. This world will feed us well, but as the fleet moved past the asteroid belt toward Mars, something went wrong. Lieutenant Nina Foster was monitoring the engagement from Phobos Station when the impossible happened. She had been watching the Harvester fleet approach, feeling helpless as humanity prepared to die. Then the asteroid belt came alive. "What the hell?" Nina whispered, staring at her sensors. Chunks of rock that had drifted in space for billions of years suddenly split open like flowers blooming. Inside each asteroid was a weapon platform unlike anything in human imagination. They were beautiful and terrible, covered in patterns that seemed to move and shift like living things. The platforms fired in perfect silence. Beams of energy that had no name in human science reached across millions of kilometers in an instant. Where they touched Harvester ships, those vessels simply ceased to exist. Not destroyed, not damaged. Gone as if they had never been there at all. "Phobos Station to Earth Control," Nina called, her voice shaking with excitement. "The asteroid. Installations are firing. They're cutting through the alien fleet like it's made of paper." Fleet Commander Zektar felt the first stirrings of fear in his ancient mind. His fleet was losing ships faster than his biocomputers could count. The weapons firing at them were architect technology, but that was impossible. The architects had been extinct for 10 million years. "All ships, emergency evasion protocols," Zektar commanded. "We are facing architect defenses. This system is protected." But it was too late for evasion. The Harvester fleet had sailed into a trap that had been 10 million years in the making. Hidden weapon platforms emerged from the surface of Mars like deadly flowers seeking sunlight. Each one was the size of a mountain, covered in cannons that could crack moons in half. They had been waiting beneath the red sand since before life had crawled out of Earth's oceans, and now they were fully awake. The Martian platforms opened, fire with weapons that turned space itself into a weapon. Reality bent and twisted around the Harvester ships, crushing them like insects in an invisible fist. Entire squadrons of bioships were compressed into tiny points of light before vanishing completely. "The aliens are trying to retreat," Nina reported from Phobos. "But they can't. Something's blocking their escape routes." That something was a network of hunter-killer drones that had been sleeping in the outer system. Each drone was no larger than a human fighter, but they moved faster than light itself and struck with the force of antimatter explosions. They swarmed around the larger Harvester ships like angry wasps, systematically destroying engines and weapons. Pete Collins, aboard a civilian transport near Uranus, watched the slaughter through his ship's telescope. He had been delivering supplies to a research station when the battle began, and now he found himself with the best view of humanity's salvation. "This is incredible," Pete whispered to his co-pilot. "The aliens don't even know what's hitting them." The Harvester command ship, a massive bioconstruct the size of Manhattan, tried desperately to coordinate a defense, but the architect weapons were attacking from directions that didn't exist in normal space. Energy beams emerged from folded dimensions, striking the Harvester fleet from angles that geometry said were impossible. Fleet Commander Zektar realized with growing horror that his fleet wasn't just being defeated, it was being systematically exterminated. Every Harvester ship was being targeted by multiple weapon systems, each one designed specifically to kill their particular type of biotechnology. "The architects knew we would return," Zektar said to his subcommanders. "They built these defenses specifically to destroy us." The realization came too late. Saturn's moon Titan suddenly revealed itself to be hollow, containing a weapon that existed partially outside normal space-time. When it fired, entire sections of the Harvester fleet simply stopped existing across multiple dimensions simultaneously. Back on Earth, Admiral Kate Sullivan watched the battle through sensors that were being fed data from the Architect Defense Network. What she saw defied every law of physics she had ever learned. "Dr. Rodriguez," she called to the scientist. "What exactly are we looking at here?" Ben was studying the tactical displays with amazement. "Admiral, these weapons aren't just more advanced than ours. They're operating on completely different principles. Some of them are attacking the aliens through folded space. Others are firing backwards through time to hit targets before they can react. That's impossible. A week ago I would have agreed with you, but we're watching it happen right now." The Harvester fleet tried to form defensive positions, but there was nowhere to hide. Weapon platforms hidden throughout the solar system were coordinating their attacks with precision that could only come from artificial intelligence that had been perfecting its targeting for millions of years. Jupiter's moons revealed themselves to be massive ammunition factories, producing exotic weapons in real time and firing them through dimensional gates that opened directly inside harvester ships. Europa launched projectiles that aged their targets to death in seconds. Io fired beams that convinced matter to forget how to exist. They're not just destroying the alien ships, Nina reported from Phobos. They're studying them. Every time a new type of harvester vessel appears, the architect weapons adapt to counter it within minutes. Fleet Commander Zektar made a final desperate decision. If his fleet could not escape, then at least he could warn the greater swarm about this. Systems defenses. He ordered his command ship to begin transmitting an emergency signal to harvester space. The signal lasted exactly 0.3 seconds before a beam from Luna Base, Earth's own moon, vaporized the command ship with surgical precision. Pete Collins watched through his telescope as the last harvester vessels were systematically eliminated. The ancient weapons didn't miss, didn't hesitate, and didn't show mercy. They had been programmed 10 million years ago with one simple directive: protect the architect descendants from the harvesters. The last ship just exploded, Pete reported to Earth Control. The entire alien fleet is gone. All of them. It took less than 6 hours. In the silence that followed, humanity tried to process what had just happened. An alien invasion force that should have destroyed human civilization had been wiped out so completely that not even debris remained. The architect weapons had been precise enough to leave human ships and stations completely untouched, while eliminating every trace of harvester technology. Admiral Sullivan looked at the tactical display, which now showed nothing but empty space, where the alien Armada had been. Dr. Rodriguez, how many harvester ships attacked us? Over 10,000, Admiral. And how many survived? Ben checked his instruments again, just to be sure. 0, Admiral. Not a single one. Kate nodded slowly. Humanity had just won its first interstellar war without firing a single shot of their own. The architects had protected their children well, building defenses that could destroy threats that wouldn't appear for millions of years. But as the celebration began on Earth, a new signal appeared on the deep space monitors. This one was coming, from much farther away, and it was much stronger than the first. The real harvester fleet had just learned that one of their scouting forces had been destroyed, and they were not happy about it. The war that had begun 10 million years ago was far from over. 3 days after the destruction of the harvester scouting fleet, humanity was still trying to understand what they had become. The ancient installations throughout the solar system remained active, their weapons powered down, but ready. More importantly, they were talking. Captain Jake Morrison floated in the command center of Liberty Prime, listening to a conversation that was changing everything humans thought they knew about themselves. The Architect Defense Network wasn't just a collection of weapons. It was a vast artificial intelligence that had been waiting 10 million years to meet its creator's children. Your genetic patterns confirm what we hoped, the network said through speakers that somehow made the alien words sound perfectly human. You are the architects, reborn and evolved. We have protected this system since your ancestors placed you here as children. Dr. Ben Rodriguez, now working directly with the network, from Earth, was documenting everything. You're saying humans are literally the descendants of the architects? Not just genetically related, but actually the same species? Correct. When the original harvester swarm destroyed the architect homeworld, a small group escaped. They scattered their genetic material across thousands of worlds, along with defense networks like this one. You are what they became after 10 million years of natural evolution. Admiral Kate Sullivan joined the conversation from Pacific Defense Headquarters. But why don't we remember any of this? Why don't we have records of our origins? Your ancestors chose to start fresh, the network explained. They wanted their children to develop naturally, without the burden of ancient memories. Only the defense systems remembered, waiting for the day when the harvesters would return. Gary Thompson, still working with the massive installation on Europa, was learning that humanity's inheritance was far greater than anyone had imagined. The structure beneath Europa's ice wasn't just a factory, it was a shipyard capable of building vessels that could travel between galaxies in minutes. Earth. Control. This is Europa base, Gary reported, his voice filled with wonder. The network is showing me ship designs that, well, they make our fastest vessels look like rowboats. And it says I can build them. It says humans were always meant to command these ships. Similar revelations were happening throughout the solar system. Carlos Martinez, working with the underwater installations on Earth, discovered that the ocean floor was honeycombed with facilities that could build entire fleets of starships. The installations on Mars were revealing themselves to be manufacturing centers for weapons that could destroy stars. But the most important discovery came from Ryan Brooks aboard Liberty Prime. While monitoring deep space communications, he detected something that made everyone's blood run cold. "Captain Morrison," Ryan called out, his face pale. "I'm picking up signals from beyond the edge of the galaxy. It's a response to what happened to the Harvester fleet. And sir, it's big." Jake immediately called Earth Control. "Admiral Sullivan, we have a problem. The network is detecting another Harvester fleet approaching. This one is much larger than the first." The Architect network confirmed their worst fears. "The force you destroyed was merely a scouting expedition. The main Harvester swarm has been alerted to this system's location. They are sending a full invasion force." "How many ships?" Kate asked, though she wasn't sure she wanted to know the answer. "Approximately 1 million vessels, including several planet eaters. They will arrive in approximately 6 months." The number hit the command center like a physical blow. 1 million ships. The previous fleet of 10,000 had seemed impossible to defeat, and that was before they knew about the Architect defenses. "Can the defense network handle that many ships?" Ben asked. "Not alone," the network admitted. "The installations in this system were designed to handle scouting forces and medium-sized fleets. A swarm of this magnitude requires the full Guardian network." "Guardian network?" Jake asked. "Defense installations around hundreds of star systems, all connected through dimensional space. But they require human command authorization to activate beyond local defense protocols." Admiral Sullivan felt the weight of command settling on her shoulders. "You're asking us to take command of a galactic defense network?" "You are the architects," the network replied simply. "It was always meant to be yours." Over the following weeks, humanity learned the true scope of their inheritance. The Guardian network extended across dozens of galaxies, protecting worlds where other groups of architects had been placed. Earth wasn't unique. It was one of hundreds of sanctuary worlds, each one developing its own human civilization. Pete Collins, the transport pilot who had witnessed the first battle, found himself chosen to captain one of the new Guardian ships. The vessel was grown rather than built, shaped from materials that existed partially outside normal space-time. When he touched the controls, knowledge flowed into his mind: how to navigate between dimensions, how to coordinate with defense, networks light years away, how to fight a war that spanned galaxies. "This is insane," Pete said to his new crew as they prepared for their first patrol mission to the Alpha Centauri system. "A month ago, I was delivering supply crates. Now I'm commanding a ship that can destroy solar systems." But Pete wasn't alone. Throughout human space, ordinary people were discovering that they had been born for extraordinary purposes. Nina Foster left her monitoring station to command a mobile defense platform. Carlos Martinez found himself in charge of Earth's oceanic weapon systems. Gary Thompson became the supervisor of Europa's massive shipbuilding operation. The transformation wasn't limited to military systems. The Architect network began sharing technologies that could heal diseases, extend human lifespans, and terraform dead worlds into gardens. Humanity went from a single-planet species to the inheritors of galactic civilization almost overnight. But with great power came great responsibility. The approaching Harvester swarm wasn't just a threat to Earth, it was a threat to every sanctuary world in the network. If the Harvesters broke through the Guardian defenses, they would consume every trace of Architect civilization. Jake Morrison, now serving as the overall coordinator of the Guardian network, received reports from across the galaxy. Other human worlds were awakening to their inheritance, discovering their own defense installations and taking their places in the ancient war. "Admiral," Jake reported to Kate during a command conference, "we have confirmation from 73 sanctuary worlds. The Guardian network is fully operational across 12 galaxies. But the harvesters aren't just targeting Earth. They're launching attacks on multiple fronts." Kate nodded grimly. "Then we do what the architects intended. We protect our people, all of them, everywhere they are." Dr. Rodriguez, now serving as humanity's chief xenoarchaeologist and liaison with the network, had been studying harvester biology and tactics. "Admiral, I think I understand why the architects scattered their children across so many worlds. They weren't just hiding from the harvesters. They were building an immune system for the galaxy itself." "What do you mean?" "Every human world becomes a fortress. Every human becomes a potential guardian. The harvesters can't attack all of us at once, and we can coordinate our defenses across impossible distances. We're not just survivors of an ancient war. We're the galaxy's defense against the ultimate plague." As the months passed and the harvester swarm drew closer, humanity prepared for a battle that would determine the fate of life itself. But they were no longer the helpless primitives who had first detected the alien fleet. They were the guardians, inheritors of the most advanced military technology ever created, protectors of 1,000 worlds. The final message came from deep space on a Tuesday morning. The harvester swarm had reached the edge of the galaxy and was beginning its approach to the sanctuary worlds. But this time, they would find something different waiting for them. Jake Morrison, floating in the command center of the Guardian flagship architect's dream, looked at the tactical display showing defensive positions across multiple galaxies. Millions of human defenders stood ready at weapons that could reshape reality itself. "All Guardian stations, this is Network Command," Jake announced across the dimensional communication system. "The harvesters are coming home. Let's give them the welcome they deserve." For 10 million years, the galaxy had waited for this moment. The children of the architects were finally ready to finish what their ancestors had started. The real war was about to begin, and this time humanity would not be the prey. They were the hunters now, and they had been preparing for this hunt for longer than recorded history. The galaxy belonged to life, not to those who would devour it, and the Guardians would make sure it stayed that way. The age of hiding was over. The age of the Guardians had begun.